Dune Awakening is set to release here very soon. I'm going to go over all the launch details, which include the preload and release times. We'll also cover some additional things like how you can make your character already. We'll jump over and check out some details for the mid to late game, and some additional new armor sets that you'll be able to obtain. That'll lead us onto some last minute mentionals about the community and the recent dev Q&A, as well as a whole bunch more. What's up, world? It's Utopia here, back in with another video. Today we're checking out all things Dune Awakening. Let's just jump right into it. First off here, yes, we have the release and the preloading times. Again, these will be dependent on if you have the early access edition or the regular edition. So let's go over the times first, then we'll lead into what edition gets what. So we'll look at both the head start and the full launch release times. Again, this is a global launch as it is a multiplayer online game, so everything is going to launch at the exact same time, or at least the exact same period of time around the world. As you see here for NA, for example, it's going to be 7 a.m. Pacific time, 9 a.m. Central time, and 10 a.m. Eastern. We're technically all the way in Sydney, Australia. That's going to be June 6th, which is essentially midnight their time, so you can see the dynamic ranges there and the time overall. That also does apply the same way to the full launch. So instead of it being Thursday, June 5th, that's going to be Tuesday, June 10th. And that is the exact same times across the board. Which again, for example, 9 a.m. Central Time. And in Sydney, Australia, technically it's June 11th at midnight. So same there, across the board for all the times. So how do you get a head start? How do you get early access to the game? What is the difference there? Well, let's jump into the editions. First off here, there are 3 editions of Dune Awakening. That is the standard edition, Dune Awakening, it's $50, $49.99. There's also 2 additional pre-order accesses here. These will both receive the June 5th head start. That's the deluxe edition, which is $69.99, and the ultimate edition, that is $89.99. So we'll compare those editions very quickly here. Now this is using some old graphic stuff here, so it does say play from 15th of May. Obviously the date did get changed. That's essentially just the head start. As you can see here, both the deluxe edition and the ultimate edition have a head start. These also do include a plethora of different things here, including different building sets, a lot of stuff that's just cosmetic purely. There has been some debate around the Sardaukar Baton armor set. We can see that here. It looks pretty cool. People are worried that this isn't cosmetic only. Now there was a dev Q&A, but they never point to this armor specifically if it is going to be cosmetic only. Most people are assuming so, but as pointed out by this commenter when they went through the Q&A, the lead producer mentioned specifically that there are 2 different skin types, swatches and skins. However, he does not mention this armor set specifically. For now though, I do think it is safe to assume that it is a skin. Now do be wary, it does seem like you'll only be able to apply certain skins to certain armor types. So if you are wearing heavy armor, for example, you can only put on a heavy armor skin. I absolutely love that because of New World, where you could hide the fact that you are wearing Void Bent with light armor or a light armor skin. I very much dislike that about New World. I didn't like that at all. They should match with the armor type, as being able to hide what you're wearing really does take away from PvP in my opinion. So I am super happy that armor types apply to skins as well. That way you can't hide anything and you know exactly what you're getting into when you do PvP. Again, there's also some additional goodies like a digital art book, digital soundtrack, but the one notable thing here is that Deluxe Edition and the Ultimate Edition do include the Season Pass, which will include 4 additional DLCs. They already have a roadmap for this, which is pretty cool. They're the Wildlife of Arrakis. That one does include some additional cosmetics. They have the Lost Harvest, which has side story and cosmetics. That one's going to be between October and December 2025. Raiders of the Broken Lands will also include some cosmetics from January to March 2026. And there's also going to be the Water Wars, which is happening from April to June 2026. That one looks like it might actually be DLC content. They also do make notable mention here that the official launch obviously is June 10th, at which point the pre-order bonuses and the terrarium will no longer be available for purchase. But the base, deluxe, and ultimate edition will still be available for regular purchase from that point onwards. So as you can see here, a bit of the pre-order rewards. Now you might be asking, what about preloading, as this is quite the larger game? It was around 33 gigabytes, give or take. We might see a much larger size come release, but that's how big it was for the creator beta and as well as the regular beta. However, if you did pre-order, you will have 24 hours before the head start on June 4th. It does seem like everybody will be able to pre-download on June 4th, including the base edition owners. you just will not be able to play as of that date. Now, what about the server infrastructure there? What are we going to be seeing on both launch dates? As they say here, multiple world/servers will be available at the head start, but the majority will go live on June 10th as more players do come in. They do also make note that even if you don't get the head start, if you just buy the normal access, you can still choose a head start world/server at launch. That's if you want to play with friends or just be on a more populated server. I would assume the June 5th ones are going to be the most populated. However, I'm sure there will be a few that are populated on June 10th. I would expect queue times on those, so do be wary of that. We do have one community post here that's a bit funny. That's the duality of the subreddit, where the one post says, please make sure there are loads of servers on launch. And then also another one here saying, please Funcom, don't add too many servers. I actually do agree with both in most cases. I do think if they add too many servers, it definitely could be an issue, as if you spread the servers out way too much, it starts to feel a little bit lonely. Now, there should still be other servers that have lower pop for players that do want a more of a lonely experience or more of a solo experience, but I do hope we get some very populated servers. I've seen Once Human have this issue at least in the past few months. They have remedied this lately, but they just had way too many servers in my opinion, and it scattered things out completely and the community couldn't really rally behind certain servers. The ones that did were very populated. However, now that they launched some new scenarios and things of that nature, it has been very, very populated on those few, and they've only put out about 5 of those, so I think that worked perfectly. Now, of course, in this case for Dune Awakening, they're going to need more than 5 servers, but I do think they should try to limit it as best as they can with a few low pop servers. But that should not be the majority, as that's just going to be a very bad experience for a lot of players. So hopefully they can strike a good balance there. Now, you might be asking, can you make your character before launch? And yes, you can. There is a character builder and a benchmark tool still available. Now, there is 2 notable mentions with this. Again, of course, you can create your character, have it ready for launch. This person says here, I can't create my beta character on the benchmark because the starting preset isn't there, as this demo was a little bit more outdated. Also, someone says here, I'm a bit wary of the character creator. From what I'm hearing, the game has more options for tattoos, etc., and they still want to be able to produce a viable character. However, as another commenter here points out, once you press import, you can still go over, make additional changes to your character. You're not at the ending character creation stage by doing that, so you could just get the baseline ready. I would definitely recommend this to avoid queue times, just to have your characters set and ready to go for June 5th. If you don't care about that too much, no problem. But if you are someone like myself who wants to jump in and start trying to speedrun the levels, I would for sure make your character ready and set to go. You can also benchmark your system to make sure that it is viable to actually play. Jumping over here, we had some additional teasers. This one does include 2 different armor sets, which is the Harken Heavy Armor. Pretty cool one there, and they even give you the color coding for this one. Again, this is through the press kit, which I will include down below. We also have one for the Atreides Scout Armor, which comes with a hood tinted mask and a nice little cloak there, so a decent one overall. And these look like these will be future armor sets that you will be able to get, as I believe these are not skins, but these are actual armor sets that you do unlock through progressing. Moving on to our next topic here, which is a glimpse to the mid to end game. This was something they really haven't shown us just yet. Even in all the betas, we didn't really see that. However, they are starting a Dune Awakening livestream number 4, which they're calling Beyond the Beta, that will give a glimpse from mid to end game. And that one starts on May 28th at 9 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern. Everything they cover there, I'll try to maybe do a breakdown video of that. That way it's a little bit more digestible depending on how long it is. Moving on, we did have a few community posts here to go over very quickly. This one goes over a recent class poll. Now, this one was done by a fellow creator named Drybear, but they showcased this one on Reddit, basically all the different classes. I'm going to try to do one as well and a poll on my channel. That way we can kind of collect all the votes there. Look out for that poll sometime today on which class you're playing or want to play. Now, there was one notable mention here where we had this post. I'm actually surprised that it had such a high vote during this poll. But as someone asked here, are there any major downsides of starting as a trooper? To which I would argue 2 points here. The first one is technically if you want to play Trooper for RP reasons, or if you really just don't care about the meta overall, you definitely could play Trooper. Although I would also argue it has massive downsides to playing this class, where essentially the other point is that within the hour of playing you can get Trooper class unlocked, and you're going to be missing a ton of build diversity. Especially if you're rocking with Mentat, you're really going to want to lean into Trooper spec, Whereas if you go Trooper, you can't lean into the Mentat spec, and you're going to have a pretty rough time overall in my opinion. So if you want to have a good start with the game, I would definitely recommend not going Trooper. However, if you want to just have fun and you don't really care, do as you please. We had another mentionable here about a recent Q&A with the developers. Some content creators got the go-ahead to actually do these Q&As. This one was done specifically by Renfail. I'll include a link to his channel down below. And you can also look at the recent Q&A here on the Reddit. Somebody did put together exactly what happened during that Q&A. There are a few notable mentions that I might go over in another video, probably with that mid to end game glimpse, where we'll go over some additional things with it and kind of clarify some of those topics. Overall, that should about cover for today's video. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, and until the next one. Deuces.